the weekend, the semester break. All right, guys. I hope everyone is doing okay. My MacBook actually went dead the other day, so I'm using another device. That's why I'm not sure about the voice, and the camera as well is not working. So, anyways, when we started with the topic, I've noticed that we have actually jumped this topic, instructional methods and strategies. So we are going back to discuss this topic first, because next week is going to be our quiz, or the first exam. All right, and the exam will be for all the topic that we have covered so far. Okay, including this topic, instructional methods and strategies. The exam will be during our regular class time. So next week, 8 a.m. is going to be online as well. Most probably using e-learning or Google Form. And it's going to be multiple choice questions only. It's going to be around 20 questions, right? Okay, guys, please take note. Okay. So for, okay, anytime that you cannot hear my voice, please stop me or notify me, right? Okay, so so far we have discussed about several topics, including educational technology introduction, definitions, instructional technology, instructional media, learning theories, and so on. And today we are going to discuss a very interesting topic, which is instructional methods and strategies. When we hear instructional methods and strategies, what is the first thing that comes to your mind? What do we mean by instructional method? Anyone? What is the meaning of instructional methods or instructional strategies?
Like how to tell someone to do something.
Can you please raise your voice?
Like how to tell someone to do something.
Okay. It's more about how to teach. What is the best way to teach? What is the best way to deliver the information, right? So instructional methods, it gives us the way to understand people and then to understand the best way to teach them. Okay, so learning doesn't happen by magic. It is a skills that you need to have to be able to teach, right? So learning, the ability to teach among any one of us is how much skills and knowledge that this person has, right? So every individual of us, the teaching ability, the teaching capability that he has, it is linked on how much skills that he has to teach people, right? So teachers must plan and manage learning settings. It is not something random. You cannot go to your class without preparing yourself, because sometimes you will get embarrassed by your students if they ask you something out of the topic you'll not be able to answer maybe. So that's why you need to prepare yourself very well, especially you guys as teachers, you are going to be exposed to Generation Z. Generation Z is different from any other generation, which are technology native, right? When we talk about technology native, they can simply come out with knowledge right away in the class using their smartphones. Okay? So you as a teacher, you need to be prepared, you need to be updated. All right? So instructional strategies are the ways or the methods or the frameworks that you as a teacher adapt to achieve your objectives at the end of the class. Okay. Now, when we talk about instructional strategies, we are talking about two main categories, right? Number one is teacher-centered strategies and student-centered strategies. What do you mean by teacher-centered strategies? Anyone? What do we mean by teacher-centered strategies?
Where teacher teacher's position with expert knowledge, and then he or she trying to share their knowledge with their student, and the setting was different with student-centered strategies.
Okay, Adib, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, that could be right in a way where the teacher is the responsible for the environment or the settings. When we talk about teacher-centered strategies, we are talking about the old fashion of teaching, where the teacher goes into the class and he is 100% responsible for what's going on inside the class. The student are not involved at all right? So the teacher is the only one who is responsible for what's going on inside the class. Okay, so that's why it's called teacher-centered strategies. On the other hand, we have student-centered strategies, where the students take place in teaching and learning process. Okay, this is the difference between these two. You need to understand this to be able to differentiate, because there are many examples of teacher-centered and student-centered strategies. So you need to be able to differentiate between these two, right? So it's very important for you to understand what do you mean by teacher-centered strategies and student-centered strategies. Most of the student will get the questions, multiple choice questions, wrong when we talk about teacher-centered strategies and student-centered strategies. All right. So one more time, teacher-centered strategies. The teacher is the only one responsible for the whole setting, the whole environment inside the class. Students are not included or are not involved. All right. On the other hand, student-centered strategies, the student is the core element in the teaching and learning process. Okay, let's take some examples of that. Now we have many methods and strategies. These are the ones that we are going to go through today. Presentation, demonstration, discussion, drill and practice, tutorial, cooperative, gaming, simulation, discovery, problem solving, and so on. Let's go one by one. Now, when we talk about presentation, it does not mean PowerPoint presentation. It means presenting something, You are the source of the information, all right? You have all the knowledge, and then you need to present this information. So the teacher is the source of the information, the source of the knowledge, all right? Now, in the presentation, the characteristics for this method is you are, as a teacher, the source of the information. You might use some other sources as well, like books, internet, audio, video, and so on. For the integration, you could integrate some other tools. For example, PowerPoints, LCD, whiteboards, and so on. For the advantages of this method, you are the one who is responsible to share the information. All right? The limitation, it's very difficult for some students to be, let's say, with you all the time. Okay? So the presentation method, from our explanation, my question is it teacher-centered or student-centered?
Teacher-centered.
Again,
Teacher-centered.
Teacher-centered.
teacher-centered. Any other opinions? Come on, guys, let me hear your voice. Anyone else? Anyone?
Teacher-centered.
Okay. If it's a teacher-centered, why?
Because teachers convey a knowledge to the learners and the learners to the students.
Get you. Thank you. Because the teacher is responsible to share the information. All right. Now, I'm not going to answer yes or no. We will get into that at the end of the slides. All right? Okay, now, for the next methods, which called demonstration, learners view an exhibition of a skill or a procedure to be learned. Okay? In the demonstration, what we actually do as teacher is we do an act. Okay? How to do something. We do an act as a demonstration. All right? And then by doing this, we let the students to understand the best way to do something. For example, if I want to teach my students how to teach for the first time as future teachers, they are not familiar, maybe they are frightened, they are scared to teach. I can show them a video, right? A small video on how, for example, to start the class, how to get the students involved, how to introduce yourself as a teacher, how to break the ice between you and your students. I will let them see the video, all right? And then I will ask the students to do the same, okay? When we're talking about demonstration, the characteristics It could be applied for a whole group, whether it's small or big, and the students will be learning from observation. What we could integrate camera, digital camera, videos to show them, so that they can actually repeat the video as many times as they need. And then the advantages, they could see before doing, they could use it as the skills or guidelines. Okay. And the limitation, it's not always practical, because you are not always having the equipment to do the demonstration. In some cases, it's difficult for you as a teacher to rely on demonstration alone. Okay. You are not always with your camera. You are not always with the right, equipment to do the demonstration. So it's not really practical for you to depend on it every time, the demonstration. All right, so far we have the presentation and we have the demonstration. Now we have something called drill and practice, where the learners complete practice exercise. We give them real exercises to do, right? Now, the advantage of this is that we as teachers are able to correct our students, to give them feedback before they end it, right? As many times as we can, so we avoid any mistakes. That's why it's called drill and practice. We do it and we do it again. We repeat until we master this skill. Okay? The characteristics, it increases fluency, occurs after instruction, and must include feedback. So if you don't give a feedback for your students, it's not drill and practice. Okay? So it is mainly depends on how many times the students can repeat and your feedback as a teacher. Okay, so if you let the students repeat without the feedback, it's not drill and practice. Okay, so your feedback is a must when we talk about drill and practice. Now, what I am saying right now is a position where I put multiple choice questions, right? That's why you need to be focused. So drill and practice, the feedback is a must, is very, very important when we talk about a drill and practice instructional strategy. All right? What do you think, guys? Drill and practice, is it teacher-centered or student-centered strategy?
Maybe both.
You can write in the chat if you don't want to talk. I just want to hear your opinions before at the end of the class. So please, all of you, just write in the chat whether you think drill and practice student. Okay, Adib, Alia, all right, you, Fahmi, all of you, all right. Najwa, good. Okay. Okay, perfect. We will go back to the comments at the end of the class. Now we have something called tutorial. Okay, when we talk about tutorial, we are talking about something that is related to the students. Okay, because you need to learn about something. So what you need to do is you need to look out for a tutorial to get you and the right path to learn. For example, if you want to learn about a software, Adobe Photoshop, Adobe Premiere, something that is related to graphics or whatever, any software. The first step you need to do is to look online for a video. This process is called tutorial. Okay, so learners work with an agent for practice and feedback until competency is achieved. This agent, what do you mean by agent here, is YouTube or social media, Facebook, okay? Anything that you work with. This agent is not a person. It's not necessarily to be a person, okay? You need to look for something. YouTube, video online, social media, anything that will get you started with the software is called tutorial. So it is 100% independent. Nobody asks you to do it. You are willing to learn about this software, so you are looking for something to help you out. Right? So the characteristics for tutorial is independent, one-on-one, and there is a lot of information, chunks of information. Okay? The advantages, it is very much appreciated and desired because it is dependent work. When we talk about independent work, so you are willing to learn about this subject or software. So it's the best way of learning when it comes from you, okay? Self-paced. Self-paced means nobody forced you to do it, but you are desired to learn about it, and then you look, you went there and you looked for the best opportunities to learn about it, okay? Now, the let's say the complicated part about tutorial is, which is the limitation, it is potentially boring. We all want to learn new languages, for example, or we all want to be, best graphic designers. And we decide, okay, I'm gonna learn some Chinese, all right, or Korean. So I'm gonna go online and start to, teach myself. So once you go there, maybe you can play the video for a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then you will get bored. Okay, I will continue tomorrow, and you will never continue again. So if you don't have the desire to push yourself, it's not going to work. And this is one of the limitations, all right? So it could be boring and frustrating because you need some guidelines throughout the way, okay? So if you are not 100%, let's say, motivated, and you really, really need to learn about this, you will get stopped eventually, all right? So these are some of the limitations about tutorial, okay? So one more time, tutorial is all about the independent work of the students. It's something comes from you and you want to learn it. Nobody forced you to do it. Okay, now we have discussion. The discussion, from the definition of the discussion, it is something related to two ways of communication, which is the exchange of ideas and opinions among students and the teacher, which is obviously something related to more, involvement of your students, not only about you as a teacher, okay? The advantages of it is more interesting, challenging, inclusive, and opportunity for new ideas. When you talk about discussion, you are giving the students role, in teaching and learning. It's not only about you as a teacher, You're not the only one who has all the knowledge. They have it too. So you give them the opportunity to be involved inside your classroom. Okay? It could be for a small group, large group. It could expose new topics, higher level questioning, because when you open up the door for your questions, for your students to ask questions, you need to be prepared, right? You need to be prepared. They might ask something out of the box, so you need to be prepared. What you could integrate is video conference, concept mapping, and stuff like that. And the advantages is very interesting, challenging, and so on. And for the limitation, it is potential for limited participation, because let's say if you are giving discussion strategy away inside your classroom and you only have 10 students. So this is the best strategy that you can use because you have limited participants. But if you have 100 students in your classroom, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be chaos inside your classroom. That's why you need to choose the perfect strategy when you decide what strategy you are going to use inside your classroom. And of course, discussion, it depends very much on the age of your students, your audience, right? Okay. Any questions so far, guys? Everything clear?
Clear,
If
Doctor.
you have any question, you can write in the chat. Okay. All right. Now we have something called cooperative learning. Okay. Since it's a cooperative learning, so we work together. Sorry, guys. We work together as a teacher and students, right? So it's a two ways of communication. And when we talk about cooperative learning, for the characteristics, it could be for small groups, formal or informal, right? Formal or informal. What tools you can integrate, media production, software, presentations, and for the advantages, it could be very benefits for both of you, the teacher and the students, because sometimes I know that you are the teacher and you have the knowledge about the topic that you are teaching, but sometimes your students could enlighten you with new knowledge, because as I mentioned, we are not in uh, in the old era anymore. Now we happen to meet some students that they have more knowledge than the teacher, him or herself. Okay, that's why you need to be open-minded. It is all about cooperative nowadays. If you are not cooperative with your students, they will look at you as something old and outdated. Okay, that's why I'm always asking questions about your opinion. Are you clear with the ideas? Okay, and I would love actually to hear from my students all the time, right? All right, now when we talk about games, games is a competitive environment. Learners follow rules to attain a challenging goal. Okay, when we talk about games, guys, we are talking about something very challenging and something that let's say linked with a certain age. Okay, because we can use games not only for kids, but we can use it for adult as well, okay? When we talk about games, we are talking about something that could motivate our students the whole time of the class. And games is not only for digital games or computers. We could come out with a very simple ideas inside the classroom and make it looks like a game, okay? This is the beautiful thing about this strategy. It could be perfect for all ages, okay? We are talking about engaging our students, get their attention all the time, motivating our students all the time, and stuff like that, okay? So games, the advantages of it, it match to outcomes, the objective, variety of settings, gain attention, as I mentioned, and it could be for all ages, not a certain age, okay? And for the limitation, competition concerns, if you have many students in your classroom, then you need to pick the right game to do it. It could be expensive sometimes, but as I mentioned, you need to pick the right one. It could be very simple, but yet motivating and engaging, right? There is a problem with the slides. Maybe some strategies are repeated. Okay, now we have something called discovery. Okay, any ideas what discovery means? Have you ever went to a class and your teacher, for example, at the beginning of the class, give you like 10 minutes to discover about something before we start the class? Okay, this is called discovery. Experiment, okay? Experiment. Any ideas? You can write in the chat. What do you mean by discovery? Exploration, right? Experiment, exploration. Any other ideas? Come on, guys, you can write your opinion in the chat. So we only have two, Fahmi and, okay. We have revision, student explore the topic, but all right, Sarah, research. All right, great. Sarah, Raihana, TU, Mutiri, analysis, exploring for understanding a deep. All right, great answers, guys. Thank you very much. So it's all about, all the answers are correct, by the way. So it's all about letting the students explore about the topic before you even start with your class. Okay, so you give them the opportunity to explore about the concept, the topic, the content, all right? And then you start correcting their understanding, okay? So it's a scientific method, guidance necessary, right? So you let them explore first, and then you clarify this information that they have search for, right? The advantages, obviously, is very much engaging, and the students are in control because they understand about the knowledge now, right? What you need to do as a teacher is to correct them, right? Okay. Now the limitation, you need to manage your time, because when we talk about discovery, you give them some times of the class, and then you need to control the what is left, okay, of the time. Preparation is critical, and it could be misunderstanding. That is why it's very important to clarify the information after they discover the information. Okay, another position for a multiple choice questions, right? Very, very tricky. So it is not about discovering the information and this and that, but you need to be aware of what information that they are exposed to, and your role here is to correct them, clarify the information for them. Okay, so this is the main role of you as a teacher. Good, guys, thank you for participating. All right, now we have something called problem-based learning. Do you think is centered, teacher-centered or student-centered? You can write in the chat. Teacher-centered or student-centered? Problem-based learning. Student-centered. Okay. So all the questions are student-centered, which is correct, 100% correct, because we are very much depending on our students. What we do here in this strategy is we give a real life problem to our students and ask them to find the best way to solve it, right? So this is what I mean by problem-based learning. Students actively seek solutions to problems situated in the real world. Can anyone give me an example of problem-based learning? It's okay, you can write it down in the chat if you are not willing to speak. Very simple example. Have any of you went through this, let's say experiment where your teacher asked you to solve a problem? Problem-based learning. Any example? Anyone? Do you guys remember the assignment from the other class, telecommunication class, where I asked you to come out with your own scenario about the installation of the network? This is 100% example of problem-based learning, because you have provided several ideas, different ideas relating to this problem that I gave you. Okay, so always remember this example as a problem-based learning. So it is 100% about the student and the way their perspective of the problem. Some of you come out with a company, some of you come with a studio, some of you come with an office, okay, and how to install everything about this office and so on. Okay, so this is a problem. This is an example of problem-based learning. Students actively seek solutions to problems situated in their real life. As the characteristics, it's a real life problems, structured, and it's very much like, letting the students live the experiment as it's their own life, okay? So I am sure when you went through that assignment, you felt like, okay, this is actually my business or my office, and this is the way that I am going to install the network and so on. And what is good about this strategy is it's very, very engaging. Okay, it let the students understand everything about the topic. So when you did the assignment, you are exposed about everything we have discussed. The devices, the cables, the network, even the budget, okay? So you are exposed to a real life problem. At the same time, you are, let's say you mastered the topic of the class. This is what I mean by problem-based learning. All right. Now, it's very, very important, guys, to know the difference between learning strategies and learning context. All right? It is something very, very different. Okay? Learning strategies are the one that we have just discussed. It's a method. Okay, problem-based learning, discussion, presentation is how it's actually the way that are you going to conduct your classroom, okay? Not where, okay? Not where. So it's about the how. Now, when we talk about learning contexts, okay, it is more about the nature of the classroom. Is it face-to-face classroom, distance learning, blended instruction, independent study, informal study? Okay, when we talk about this, we are talking about learning context, not learning strategies. So if you ever see a multiple choice questions about learning context, and one of the choices are presentation, so it's obviously wrong. Okay, so you need to differentiate between learning strategies, methods, and learning context. Learning context means environment or settings. Okay, so we have different types of learning context: face-to-face classroom, distance learning, the students in one location and the teacher in a different location, and very, very, very good example of distance learning is what we are doing right now. Okay, this is distance learning because we are not in the same physical location. Okay, we are in different locations, but yet we are synchronous together. Okay, so you need to be able to differentiate also between synchronous and asynchronous. What we're doing now is synchronous, right? Yet, if I give you a video recording and I ask you guys to watch the video, leave a comment. I am here if you need any inquiry. This is asynchronous because I'm not here with you, but I am here. Okay, I'm not here teaching you, but I am here for any inquiry or any feedback. Okay, all these terms are confusing, but you need to understand them. Okay, so one more time. the way of teaching or the learning context that we are conducting right now, it is called distance learning. Why? Because we are not in the same location. We are in different locations. Okay? So are we conducting synchronous or asynchronous? We are conducting a synchronous because we are live together. Okay? If you ask me in the chat, I will answer right away. If you unmute and talk to me, I will respond to you. That is why it's called synchronous. Okay? On the other hand, if I give you a video recording, it's a pre-recorded video. It's called asynchronous. Yet, I am here to answer your questions through WhatsApp, through the group, okay? Clear? Questions? Okay, great. And then we have independent study and informal study. Independent, teacher prepares context and materials, student work at their own pace. Now, at the end of the semester, if I give you the notes only, and I said, okay, these are the 12 weeks of notes. I'm not going to meet with you, neither face-to-face nor online. Okay, you are on your own. But I gave you the notes and I gave you the assignment outlines, the course outlines and stuff, all the stuff that you need, but I never met with you. This is independent study. And then finally, we have informal study. The teacher is out. There's no role whatsoever for the teacher. Informal study, you are on your own. Okay, we have technology, educational technology class. I don't have notes. We are not going to meet. Okay, just you are in your own. You can search for the information, whatever plans, scenarios and stuff like that. Okay, so are you guys clear with these definitions, these terms, learning context? Can you write in the chat the main difference between learning context and learning strategy? What is the difference between these two? I want to see other names. I'm very familiar with Izzati, Rina, Sarah, Tiyu, Akmal, Putiri, Dan, Fahmi, Farhana. I want to see other names. What is the difference between learning context and learning strategy? I'm not asking you to talk. I'm asking you to type the answer. Because obviously you don't like to talk, except for some of you. The main difference is in one line, okay? Learning strategy is what, and learning context is what. Just one term, one concept. Okay, we have answer from Sarah. Learning context explains about the nature of the classroom. Learning strategies explain about how to teach. Perfect, Sarah. Thank you very much. So learning context is the environment. Okay, short answer. Learning strategy is how to teach. Danny, learning context means the how environment. Okay, good. Learning method is the way to deliver them. Exactly. Perfect, Danny. Thank you very much. Sarah and Danny. Perfect answers. Okay, one more answer before we continue. Anyone? Okay. Anyone is typing or should we move on? Okay, we have Nabil. Learning context refers to the broader environment in which learning occurs. Okay, perfect. Learning strategies refer to the specific techniques. Okay, that's perfect, Nabil. Techniques. That's good. All right, guys. That's very, very good answers. Thank you very much. Now, integrating free and expensive materials inside your classroom could be very, very challenging because we want to make sure that we are not misleading our students. Okay, it's very important, especially nowadays. We are exposed to tons of free materials on the internet. Okay, so we have open source websites, Wikipedia, whatever it's called. So you need to make sure whatever or whenever you are including materials from the internet, you need to look for something that is not misleading, up to date, something that is related to the topic. Okay. All right. The advantages of including materials is up to date, in-depth treatment. It gives you more extra information. For the limitation, as I mentioned, you need to avoid any bias or advertising, promoting for special interest, and something that is not related or misleading to your students. Now, so at the beginning of the class, the main idea in this class is to be able to differentiate between teacher-centered strategies, all right, and student-centered strategies. Okay, when we talk about teacher-centered, you feel like it is something 100% the teacher role. The students are not engaged. Okay, right? So even though you are using teacher-centered strategies, try your best to engage your students, because otherwise you're going to, waste your time. You are going to lose students' attention and stuff like that. So when we talk about presentation, demonstration, drill and practice, tutorials, it's all about teacher-centered. Okay. On the other hand, when we talk about discussion, we let the students take part in our classroom. Cooperative learning, we give them an opportunity. Okay. Games, we let them do the games by themselves among, for example, a group or individual. And simulation, we let them do the same skills again. Okay. Discovery, we let them discover by themselves. Problem-based learning is all about their imagination, their perspective of the problem. Okay, so this is the main difference between these two. All right, one more time, it's very important to be able to differentiate between these two categories. All right, guys. Now, in teacher-centered, as you can see from this figure, the teacher is the only one who has the knowledge and experience, and he's trying his or her best to transfer this knowledge to his or her students. Okay, so it's a one way of communication. One way of communication. On the other hand, we have student-centered learning. We have two ways of communication. And there is one more element including in this process, which is beliefs, because we are sharing together now. We are not about the knowledge and experience also. We are sharing about the beliefs as well, because we have different opinions, okay? So always remember it as a two ways of communication. Two ways of communication. Okay. Now the take home, reflect on this, compare and contrast the advantages and limitations of 10 types of learning strategies. Now, I'm not actually going to post these two questions in e-learning because next week is the exam and I want you to take your time and read about this exam. All right. So do you guys have any questions so far? So one more time for the ones they were not at the end or at the beginning of the class. Next week, we're going to have our exam. Okay. The exam will include everything we have covered so far. Okay. The introduction, instructional media, instructional design, learning theories, computational thinking, learning strategies, and methods. All right. The exam will be held online using e-learning or Google. I'm not yet decided. I will keep you updated, but the questions are going to be multiple choice only. There is no essay, no open and end questions, okay? Only MCQ questions, could be 15 or 20, okay? Do we have any questions? Okay. Do you all scan attendance, guys? Okay, guys. Now, okay, that's good. All right, guys. That's all for today. I wish you all the best next week, and I'm always available for any questions. Thank you again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you, Doctor.